Welcome to the Brutal Game. As always, I'm Blake here with Ferris.
Hola.
And Ron.
I can tell you what's not happening.
We're recording this on good old April 23rd, and Arsenal and Chelsea played a little while ago. I'm sure that's going to come up in the pod.
I'm sure it will.
Just a wee bit. Good little North London derby. Day after my birthday. What a prezi. On tonight's episode of the Brutal Game, we're going to be talking about the what? It's the FA Cup.
Semifinals.
I was waiting for Ron to do the sound effect.
We have a sound effect for the FA Cup.
You know what? I think I thought my head, it was like the La Liga's round.
Or like something like that.
Yeah. Don't know why I was expecting that, but I was. There you go. But we got the semifinals, and that is as Man City advance over Chelsea and Man United advance somehow
Accidentally.
after being on the end of a colossal upset to Coventry City.
And I wrote that, by the way.
Yes,
like,
you
for
did.
word for word. End of a colossal.
Yeah, good on you. That was honest. I think we all thought Ten Hag was fired today.
Listen, I was screaming like you do, dude. He's pulling a Coach Beard when they got beat by Man City at Wembley. And he's like, I'm not going to ride the bus. I'm going to do my own thing. I kind of wanted Ten Hag to volunteer that and not go back on the team trainer bus.
Right. I'm just going to walk home.
I'm just going to walk home. Yeah.
Then we're going to switch over to our 2-minute drill. We will quickly recap the few matches that were over the weekend in the Premier League. Then the halftime whistle is going to blow as the jambalaya of the Jackson and the Nicholas Loving knock to his verse. Because he saw the verse today. Ron. Maybe he shares us all the news that's fit to drink on his beer news, but he also might burn it all down in a moment about his favorite Chelsea number 9, Nicky Jackson.
For those of you at home that can't obviously see this because this is an audible podcast, we're recording from 3 different locations today. And the whole time Blake's reading that headline, Ron is just flicking me the middle finger, the bird, the entire time.
And even though it's to the camera, I knew it was for you. I could tell that was not for me. And finally, we're going to close out the pod with, here's what the sound effect comes. The La Liga's roundup. We need an FA Cup.
Next year, we definitely need an FA Cup soundbite.
But Ferris is going to fill us in on how the biggest club football game in the world went, the El Clasico, as it shaped up this weekend, and of course, the implications it has on the league table in Spain, while even igniting the lack of goal line technology in Spain. Then we have league winners in both Germany and Italy. And finally, wouldn't you know it, our prayers have been answered as Ferris shares with us some hot, in more ways than one, off the presses news about a gorgeous bearded Frenchman, our favorite lumbersexual, arriving on the here in the good old US of A shores this summer. But first, our beer.
And as usual, we have not decided who's going first.
No.
Okay. You know what? I have the little refrigerator thing here. Not the refrigerator. Where the hell is this thing? A lunch type cooler bag. I just opened it up. So I'll go first because you know what? Mine is a brewery we've had on the pod before, probably several times. Sierra Nevada. But the one that I got is Hop Bullet Magnum Edition Imperial IPA. You want to know why? Because over the weekend, a bullet could have gone you know where from me watching that game. So why not start off with a 9.5% Imperial IPA to get me through this pod? Wow. Courtesy of Sierra Nevada. Head over to sierranevada.com. A limited release Hop Bullet Magnum Imperial IPA. This mighty Magnum hop packs this edition of Hop Bullet with behemoth flavors of grapefruit, orange rind, and pine resin. This thing's a force, but it's also fleeting. Stock up or miss out. Only available January through March. Somehow it's April, and my Publix down the street still had it. So 48 on the old IBUs, as if you're counting Nicholas Jackson's non-goals and everything else in between, according to Ron.
That's the low number.
Man, 9.5% on this Tuesday. I'm off on vacation for the next week and to see our Pride play in in Washington, D.C. Might even see a D.C. United and Seattle match. So I'm going to start this vacation off in style with 9.5% of hop. Imperial goodness, baby.
Well,
Nice.
I feel like I should go next because Ferris actually kind of set me up for mine. I am staying in the same family, different brewery. I can't remember if early when I first got to Connecticut, and I was back and forth from Tennessee. If I did this brewery, but I think it's the first time I've had it on here. This is from Two Roads Brewery, over in Stratford, Connecticut. Two Roads isn't just the logo on our brewery building. It's a philosophy. Life always seems to offer up two ways to go. It just so happens we prefer the one less traveled and having some fun along the way in our lives, our careers, and especially for our beers. Now our road less traveled philosophy is being brought to life in the beers we create and how we create them. And founded in 2012, I went Two Roads, very popular here. Like this is one that like in most restaurants you're going to see locally. They carry, I forget the name of it. There's a pale ale that you see almost all the time from Two Roads Brewery. But I went kind of in the same vein of Ferris. I grabbed a classic, not your normal tall can. We're talking a tall boy, gentlemen.
Oh, the pint.
Oh, heck yeah.
20 ounces here, a pint in 3.2 ounces when it's all said and done. An 8% double IPA. Big, hoppy, plenty of bite. Our assertive, hop-centric is a take on a classic West Coast IPA. Lean malt character brewed with 6 Pacific Northwest hops, including Cascade, Centennial, Amarillo, Citra. The beer is not for the timid. And Ferris, how do you like this for a segue? I snagged this because the name on one, great brewery, but two, the name, excellent setup for Ron's day, which we can say that Chelsea is on, same as this beer is named, The Road to Ruin. With a cool little snake at the bottom holding up. He's holding up like a little hop. He looks like that snake from like the old Disney Robin Hood movie that he thinks about. He's holding a little hop there.
That's funny.
All right, Ron. I mean, do you have one, or are you just going straight straw into the old Baijiu bottle from China?
You know, I thought about it.
God, I forgot about that one.
I honestly thought about it. Just, you know, having a beer is just a cry for help. I just want it to be over. But I digress. I snagged a listener beer. Friend of the pod, Chuck, was in South Carolina last weekend, not this past one, but the one before. And he brought me a beer from a Charleston, South Carolina brewery called New Realm Brewing. New Realm is an American craft brewery and distillery started in 2016. The company has a flagship brewery and restaurant in Atlanta, a production brewery and a restaurant in Virginia Beach, and a brewery and a restaurant in Charleston, South Carolina. New Realm's core principles are quality, creativity, authenticity, and striving for perfection, all with a customer-centric, community-focused commitment and approach, which I thought was just kind of cool. And the beer I'm having is called Scapegoat West Coast Style Pilsner.
Well, we already know who Ron's scapegoat is.
Yep, right?
Yeah.
So, well,
yeah. But
perfect.
Check out this can art. It might be my favorite. Look at this.
Oh, that's cool.
It's got a goat with like 1980s style clothes. He's wearing a fanny pack. He's got a Walkman, and he's got his skates.
Yeah.
A lot of neon color on that rad goat.
Yeah,
I think he's wearing normal skates, but I feel like he should be in inline skates.
Right?
Rest.
Yeah.
The goat looks familiarly like there were some food trucks today at work, and the Wandering Goat, I think is the food truck is the name of it, with a coal pizza oven. But that goat on the side of the food truck is just kind of that same way, just colorful and bright and just awesome. And
the can art, like the can art background. I feel like when I was in grade school, I took a school photo in front of this backdrop, right? Like early 80s kind of.
Whatever in your background.
Yeah.
Your shot. Yep.
Yeah. So this is a West Coast style Pilsner, which means it's got some fruit flavors added to it. So pineapple and passion fruit have been added to this one, and it's 5.5% on the old ABV, gentlemen. Scapegoat, the rebellious West Coast style Pilsner that defies convention. This hybrid marvel seamlessly blends the crisp refreshment of a classic Pilsner with the bold aromatic punch of an IPA. Immerse your senses in a roller disco of flavors where the low bitterness lets the hops groove without overwhelming. Unleash your taste buds and join the Scapegoat revolution.
That was a good delivery.
That's awesome, man.
I can't wait to try this.
I can't believe Ferris and I are only to the high ABV. I just kind of anticipated that.
I know, and I thought you were going to say West Coast IPA when you first said it. I was like, oh, we're gonna have IPAs, but no,
Just
West Coast Pilsner. It's interesting.
Keep you guessing.
Love it. Shall we?
I think we shall. Boy, this is quite aromatic.
I mean, this is as hoppy as I think I was anticipating. Oh, this is a lovely smell. Yeah, sure, a little bit of hops. Probably a lot of hops.
Lovely, just crisp. This is going to sound weird, but lovely, crisp beer smell.
No, I got you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Look at that.
Oh, you got some good head retention on that there.
Yes, you do there, Sonny.
Why, thanks for noticing.
Man, this smells so good. This is a brewery definitely you guys visit. I have to take you to. Two Roads is awesome. Oh, yeah. Shall we, gentlemen?
All right.
It'd be rude if we don't.
Cheers. Good. Golly, Miss Molly. That is a double IPA in the best way. This Road to Ruin is hoppy as hell. Oh, and literally just now as I'm talking to you, the bitter just hit. It's weird. There's a bit of a sweetness up the front, so you don't feel it as bitter. And then 5 seconds later, there's that kind of extreme hoppy bitterness. That's quite good.
This is dangerous. Yeah, I got a 6-pack of this.
It's all done tonight.
I don't fly out until Thursday. Whoo, Nally. I tell you what, you would not know this is 9.5%. You would have this and you would be like, oh, that's an IPA. It's probably in the 6, 8 range. 6, 6.8, 7, 7.2. And you're about 3 and you're like, holy, what truck hit me? Man, this is good. Just the hops are tasteful. You get that exactly what they kind of describe with that grapefruit orange kind of blending so well with the pine, and it just balances out the hops so well that you don't get that really hop peel back your teeth type of taste, and it just tastes like a smooth, right golden IPA. Lovely from them. Well done.
This is quite interesting. It is a kind of a bready Pilsner or biscuity Pilsner up front, very crisp, and then it rolls right into grapefruit. So you got that kind of tang bitter of the grapefruit, and then it rolls right into a sweet passion fruit and just finishes off there. It's quite tasty. Clean mouthfeel, good lacing. This is quite good. 5.5%.
We almost sound like we know what we're talking about when it comes to beer after all these years.
Almost.
Right?
I think this is a 3 for 3. This is fantastic. I'll give it another shout out to a brewery I tried to have on. I tried to have Evening Sky Brewery, but they had just run out of to go when I was there from Burlington, not Vermont, Burlington, Connecticut, which is about, 10 minutes from me. It's a wicked little brewery that has the 1980s original Star Wars arcade cabinet that's all lines. Oh my God, I played the crap out of that thing.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
I will report. Well, the beer was fantastic. I had one of the best pilsners I've ever had, but I'll get some to go and get them on the pod. My list of a beer package I need to send you guys is growing by the minute.
Perfect.
Love it.
All right. Shall we move on to the footy? Ron, do you have a ceremonial quote by Roy Hudson to kick us off?
Yes, I do. Actually, I have a quote from a colleague admirer of his, which I thought was pretty entertaining. And this is how he describes our treasured Ray Hudson. If football is a passion, then Ray Hudson is Viagra.
Golden.
Love it.
I mean,
Absolutely flawless.
right?
More truer words could not have been spoken.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Absolutely flawless. Well, shall we move on to the FA Cup semifinals?
We should
Why
indeed.
not?
Oh, man. And it just makes me excited for next year's What the FA Cup. It might be some of my favorite moments of any pods.
It's easily, not that I've created a lot of games, but it's by far the best game that I've ever created.
Oh, it's the best one on this pod.
Right.
Without doubt.
Right. I could create like the world's most famous, brand new, live action board game in the coming year. Still wouldn't beat what is the FA Cup.
Now, for this match, I found this an interesting one. The Man City and Chelsea match. Man City 1, Chelsea 0. No mistake for Bernardo Silva in this one, as Portuguese strike in the 84th minute was enough for Man City to beat out Chelsea as Pep and his side advanced to yet another FA Cup final. Who cares about the Champions League? The FA Cup is way cooler. That's a great line. I watched this, Ron, and before the Arsenal and Chelsea match, you made this comment, and I was like, I don't know. I mean, you guys have been scoring some goals, and obviously you didn't in this one, but I did feel like in this match, like, are Chelsea going to win this and go to the FA Cup final? It's something about City, and may they keep this form, did not inspire at all.
Right.
And in a way, I feel like you were just victim to that thing that Man City can do when they even play poorly is, oh, wait, here's a Bernardo Silva goal in the 84th minute. And, Bob's your uncle. You're on the way out. But I wasn't really, look, City may still go on and win the league and what have you, but and the FA Cup, but I was not impressed in this match at all.
Yeah. And Pep prior to the game was moaning on about, they have to play this cup final a few days after their, well, Pep, tough. You were in the Champions League. That's just a part of it. Like, when else do they can play this final? Yeah, you could probably do it on Sunday. You might be able to do it on Monday, but it's the draw of the FA Cup. Games aren't guaranteed. You just know it's going to be this weekend. You were the first draw out, so therefore you're the first game. That's just kind of the way it goes. It was a tough game that they played against Real Madrid midweek and got knocked out of the Champions League. And yeah, Chelsea had some chances here. They had a penalty shout that we'll talk about here a little bit later that was similar to one that was actually called in the next FA Cup game. But City do what they've done so often, especially in these late stages of the season. They just grind it away. Just grind it away to get a bit of magic from a brilliant player. And Bernardo Silva, who tried this chip thing midweek in pens against Real Madrid, did not come off very well. Absolutely scored a wonderful goal here, and that's all they need. Just see out the game, a professional job done, and back to the FA Cup final for back-to-back years.
Ron's too quiet. Did you think you played bad in this match? I didn't think you were necessarily bad in this match.
No, I think the Chelsea is a tale of two halves all season. We came out and played a very tired Man City, who was not functioning all that well, still a bit hungover from the Champions League loss. No Erling Haaland, out due to injury. And for large sections of this game, Chelsea were making Man City very uncomfortable. They were forcing Man City to turn it over. We actually played a high press as a unit for good sections of this match. We were able to spring counters on them. We were able to make it very difficult for them down the wings or for them to overload us in the midfield. An interesting thing is that we had no Enzo Fernandez. So I thought the team actually played a bit better through the midfield without Enzo Fernandez, who's been playing through injury for quite some time during this season. So no, I didn't think we played bad. I just thought that in this particular match, we were absolutely toothless in the final third. Even when we got in behind the, we had such great passes and frisky balls through that
frisky balls.
Yeah, that allowed Jackson 1v1 on the keeper multiple times. He gets an absolute sitter past the goalkeeper, but can't find the wherewithal to even take a shot. So he passes the ball to an upcoming Chelsea player, but it's such a pathetic pass that he just gives it right back to Man City. So this match, for long periods of time, we were honestly the better team. We created great chances. We just couldn't finish them.
You nailed it. If you were more clinical in the final third, you guys would have won like 2-0. Or 2-1, I do feel like, it's kind of a shame, right? Could you imagine Champions League and FA Cup Man City crash out of like back to back like that? Good gosh. We can only dream.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I kind of felt like again, I took it as like, you were kind of like, I don't know, pulling, tightening the belt, pulling up. And even though you didn't have the finish in that final third, like, I don't know, I kind of felt like there was a little bit of momentum maybe starting to pick up with Chelsea. I don't know. Is Poch, we ask this question like every week. It's maybe more pertinent once we get to the Arsenal match. Is Poch there next season?
Yeah. There's no reason to. The only thing is, if the remaining 7 or 8 matches of the season are all losses, I think there's probably a good chance to get rid of Poch. But at the moment, not necessarily who you're going to get, which is normally the question that we're normally asking. With teams, high-profile teams, fishing in the same pond as Chelsea would be in this upcoming summer break. Not only who would you get, but with this group of players, who's going to make a difference?
Plus, Liverpool is going to snag the top choice right now. That's just,
well, Bayern is reportedly looking, there's plenty of big name teams that are sniffing around for managers. So even if we had the pick, right, let's say we, there's some golden manager that everybody wants and we managed to land them. Are they really going to help? Because it's immaturity of players. That is probably the number one issue, right? Like, we step up to games like crazy and then we fold in other ones inexplicably with roughly the same lineup. We can't make smart decisions on the field. We can't be ruthless in the final third. That's not all on the manager. So even if you could get, I don't know, pick any manager, Sir Alex from the days of Manchester United could be reborn and sent to Chelsea. He's still going to suck. because it's really not the manager. I mean, the tactics are fairly spot on. Maybe you could argue about substitutions being timely, but really it's immaturity of the entire team that's making us what we are. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to bring back Graham Potter? We're still paying him, right? Why don't we bring him back? It's going to be the same problem.
You definitely there's not a great answer there. It might become an issue where they just can him because they look like they've got to try and do something. But I mean, for what it's worth on the socials, and granted, these are all our folks like us, just watching and running our mouths. But like, people were not screaming like they were like a match or two ago about Pochettino following today's match with Arsenal. They were all complaining about the players, not as much about the manager.
Because I don't know. I think it's fairly obvious as of about a third or 2/3 of the way into the season that it's really about the players. Poch cannot make Nicholas Jackson less offsides. That's on the player.
You remember what you said early on to us, though? I just don't see a plan. What is a plan with these player acquisitions?
Still the question.
Yeah.
But that's not really on the manager at the moment, right? Because he inherited all these players.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see what we do, if anything, in the summer transfer window, considering the two best players from stats-wise on the whole season, Trevor Chalobah, defender, and Conor Gallagher, are going to be up for sale. And there are, well, I'll go for
presumably up for sale. They're not up for sale yet.
Well, I mean, they were up for sale in the winter transfer. So
yeah, you presume the same is going to happen this summer.
So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, but it's not on the manager.
And this might tear more into the following the Premier League match, but how quick do you think they're going to cut bait on Mudryk? Now, I'm that's not me. I'm legitimately asking that question. I'm not trying to be a pain in the butt. That feels like that guy might can flourish under a different situation, but I don't know they're going to get the 95 million or whatever out of that dude.
No, they're not going to get any bit of that. But the Premier League is kind of riddled with those players in a way. Not riddled with that amount necessarily, but look at Anthony at United. Look at what Arsenal brought in. What's his name? Nicholas.
Pepe.
It happens sometimes. This one was weird because there was such a battle back and forth, and Chelsea just completely overpaid in the end of this battle, whether they thought he was worth it or their pride just got the best of him. Who the hell knows?
Buy. There was a panic buy along with a few others.
And he hasn't gotten a full run of games, and when he does, he hasn't looked great. There's been a number of players that have been brought in that have gotten starts over him. It's not working out for him there.
But Caicedo was also another big price point.
Yeah, but he's gonna play more times than not, because who do you really have in midfield there, right? You have Enzo, who you brought in. Your next best is him. Okay, we'll play Colin Gallagher because he plays hard, but we're trying to sell him. But he's the only one fit right now, so we might as well play him. So there's all of these things that are just headache for the club and what Poch has had to deal with. That it is just a rocky season again for Chelsea, just because kind of put themselves in this boat similar to what United had. It's just a mess, and trying to sift through is tough for the players, for the manager.
Yeah, and the media, people like myself, we're not helping at all when we just rag on players, right? But I thought something interesting was that at the match today at Arsenal, when we just completely rolled over, there was this cute little kid holding a sign
I saw that.
That said, I don't want your shirt. I want you to play for ours. And it was, a Chelsea badge and all that. And I mean, that pretty much sums it up. That should be on the train. That sign should be in the training ground. It should be in the locker room to kind of send a mission.
If I was a Chelsea player who saw that I'm going over, I'm giving that kid a hug. I'm not giving him my shirt. I'm going to take it to every player on the team, have them sign it, and give it back to the kid before asking, hey, I'll get you a signed shirt instead of all of us, but we want that. We want to put that up kind of Ted Lasso style and locker room above that says believe. Because you're right. Sometimes it's messages like that remind you that, kids that all levels aren't just looking at the names on the back of the shirt or their favorite team. It's like, hey, they want to actually see something from the team. It's okay if you lose. It's going to happen.
Right. Show some
But they
passion.
want to see, you want to see a little bit of passion. You want to see a little bit of go. You want to see a little bit of consistency. There's these basic things that all football fans want to see from their club. And right now, and Chelsea's not the only club, they're not providing that consistency.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating as all hell.
So one last thing on the Man City Chelsea. There's a lot of shouts about Chelsea being robbed of a handball in the box and
or lack thereof call.
Sorry, yes. The lack of a call on a handball. The situation was that Chelsea had a free kick outside the box. The Man City wall was in the box. And when the free kick was delivered, the Man City wall split. Jack Grealish jumped kind of weird and had his arm in a relatively unnatural position. And the ball hit his arm, skipped off, and went out the end line. Everyone, said, that's a handball in the box. VAR waved it off, or the referee waved it off. VAR confirmed that it was able to be waved off, and then they gave him a goal kick. So Chelsea kind of got screwed twice there. If you're not going to call that it's a handball, it's undeniable that it touched Grealish because the trajectory of the ball changed. So they got screwed and didn't even get the corner.
Yeah, that makes zero sense to me.
But at the end of the day, I can't say that I think the better team overall actually won.
At the end of the day, you're not Nottingham.
Right.
They've got some VR complaints. We'll get to those later. Yeah.
But I mean, I kind of just threw my hands up and was like, look, this is symptomatic of the larger Chelsea season as a whole. And we shouldn't be relying on a handball call in the box to draw us level. We should be taking our chances and ruthlessly finishing them against any opponent, which we were not doing. So I'm not all that bruised or battered about the handball call. Yeah, it is what it is. But we should have just finished our chances, and then we wouldn't have had to worry about it.
No, we've mostly talked Chelsea more so, but I did want to mention one thing before we come off of this with Man City and Chelsea. Pep, is he whinging a bit? Is he whinging a bit? Because he really had a lot to say about the schedule coming into this match, coming off of how quick it was playing Champions League and kind of laying into the BBC for ensuring players had less than 3 days to rest before their FA Cup semifinal. What do you guys think about the?
Yeah, but it's no different than what Klopp has done in the past, what Arteta has done in the past. When things aren't going your way, and you get knocked out. Okay, you're going for another treble, and you get knocked out of the Champions League by Real Madrid, who, by the way, is no mugs.
Exactly.
And then you have to play 3 days because, well, you advanced in the Champions League and you advanced in the FA Cup, and that's just the pile up of what you're advancing in because you're playing so well and you've advanced in the tournament. It just kind of happens. But, you lose that when you play 3 days later. You only, you're just going to whinge a bit. So, yeah, absolutely. He's whinging a bit. And the overall statement, I think that all these managers are getting, and plenty of players have said the same, there's a crap ton of games that they all play.
I was going to say, there's whinging, but, I mean...
Go down to the championship. They play 45 games in their league alone.
Yeah.
In their league alone or some. So, you know what? It's relative to a point, but the same point, you weren't complaining when you won the treble last year with all of those games because you probably played the same amount of games total.
Yep.
Yeah, you may have had a day or two, break from games here and there, but you played a crap ton of games last season. We weren't hearing you do it. So because you lost and you got knocked out of one now.
Well, and now, next year, there's no, what's the term?
No Man City, because they're going to be obliterated off the planet because of 115 counts of.
There's that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to say that early. Come on, what I meant to say is they're a very fine club. We'll review it in the pub later.
We'll chat down in Mrs. Miggin's pub later.
Yeah, sorry. I take it all back. Don't worry, we'll have a verdict in 2028. By that time, we'll have enough pints to get around to enough of the pubs in the area. And then we'll just have a nice, lovely chat about it. Maybe have some tea and biscuits, and then we'll get on with it.
2028, I think I got a nice bit of whiskey that's supposed to age there. Yeah, let's push it out to 29.
Oh, that'd be lovely. Yes.
I can't decide if Ferris's accent is an old British woman or what.
No, it absolutely is an old British woman.
Get off the road, Lord, you bloody hell. What the?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Lee, that was for you, my friend.
Oh, my God. I flippin' love it. Well, hey, but there is a change, right? Less matches in the FA Cup next year in the beginning, right? No return match, whatever.
No replays early on, right?
Yeah. No replays early on. Yeah, and they're really upset about that because that hurts the lower clubs. But that's the bigger clubs complaining about matches and,
Well, how about don't play your B squads and tie with the lower clubs?
There's that. Hey, that's a great
segue. You're welcome. I set that one up for you.
That's fair.
Ball here on the Beautiful Game.
That's right. Sets it up, and I will spike it. Man United barely avoid yet another mind-blowing defeat as they advance in penalties over Coventry City. Up 3-0 and cruising at 60 minutes of play in the match. Man United squandered that lead for the remaining 40 minutes or so of play as Coventry pegged back the 3 goals within 20 minutes, right? To take United to extra time, then with each hitting the crossbar in the additional 30 minutes, and Coventry thinking they won it in extra time only to be pegged back for the offside call by VAR, which in the 121st minute, the sides then went to penalty kicks to fully decide it, and it's where Man United went 4-2 and ended Coventry's near historically memorable completion of a comeback.
The funniest quote about this was the manager of Coventry City saying, if Haji Wright would have clipped his toenails that morning, that goal would have counted.
Probably.
And I mean, you look at it, I mean, it's like a blade of grass.
It's tight. It's the correct call, though. It
I don't know. I think there's an interesting shout because Lad Bible had a video that said VAR used the wrong still frame.
The wrong frame.
Right, the wrong still frame in the video, and they show the next one, and it's onside. So it's really interesting.
It's VAR. I mean, these lines are that tight. It can be, from one angle to the next. The same thing from earlier in the season when Saliba or Gabriel did like the pullback with the head and how close that line was with the Garnacho. It's the finest of margins.
I think it was the finest of margins.
Without the finest of measuring equipment.
Yes, that's the thing. And I mean, if you're not familiar, Ron used the term frame rate, and basically, if you ever hear it's frame rate of 24 frames per second, right? That just means how many still images in a second, right? Make you look like a moving picture, right? That's how this works. If you are this tight by millimeters, already the frame rate you got going on, and it's an honest mistake, right? I mean, the guy looking at it, he goes, "Oh, that's offside." You know what I mean? It's not like it's no conspiracy. There's nobody back there trying to screw other teams. None of that. But Lad Bible brings up a good point. Like, well, why wouldn't you use that? But these guys are under pressure to move just like the players are and the refs on the pitch to try and get an answer out. And if that's the case, is the answer like if offsides has to go to VAR? Is it a wider line? Is it? I don't know. Like,
listen, I grew up with what's the baseball phrase,
Tie goes to the
run
runner.
goes the attacker or whatever, right?
yes.
Yeah, no, I would prefer that to be the case, right? If it's that close of a margin, it should be a goal.
Yeah.
Right. I got no problem with that call standing as a goal.
That'll burn
But-
and help just as many people.
Correct.
It'll
And
even
that's
itself.
exactly it, right?
Yes.
It's burned United in the past. It's burned Coventry may not because they don't have it in the championship. It's burned plenty of other teams in the past.
Right.
It's this lines. What angle are they drawn perfectly? They're trying to introduce a semi-automated offside thing next year. Maybe that helps. Maybe it doesn't. The only line thing that seems to work is goal line technology.
Right.
But it's from everything that I was seeing, listening, and apologies, I have not seen that Lad Bible, just in the call-in show from England I listened to, both the commentators on that said, listen, it sucks. And it absolutely sucks. You see what those Coventry fans, how they celebrated that, thinking that they are going to advance with this historic comeback in the 121st minute to be, and then VAR pegs it back for what is the closest of an offside call. It sucks. But if he's a toenail offside or he's half a toenail offside, he's still offside according to the rule as it states right now.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that the rule on the books is what it is, and it's a separate argument. I think the thing that kind of bugs me is that if you're going to say someone was offside by millimeters, you don't have a system that can actually measure that.
Sure. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
You're using a line that
on top
is
of a line, on top of another line.
and it is placed there by a person, and the whole thing's just fallible, right?
Yeah,
And so my thought is change the offside rule. What is the definition of offsides? Fix that.
what's the definition? Well, yeah, but hold on.
And then,
What's the definition of handball? What's the definition? Like
Well,
you
we're
go
not
down
talking
the
about
laundry
that at
list
the
of
moment.
rules.
right? Offsides, you can make it that it is a much easier call.
Oh, agreed.
Right.
Agreed. What was it? Arsene Wenger proposed. If you're a body length offside, or you have to be a full body length offside, or something like that, then
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. Yeah,
Yeah, it was more. It would be more obvious.
more obvious, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
right.
Well, you would think it would be more, and then we're going to break down. Well, his back left heel was a millimeter still touching the defender's right knee as he runs, so therefore he wasn't fully offside or onside. So I don't know how you can break it down unless you have, Ron, to your point, a goal line type technology with Hawkeye that can.
Do you know
pace these moving players so fast? They could this automated thing that they introduced in was the World Cup.
And
That's
yeah,
me.
yeah. So
Right.
this is the first I've just seen a simple explanation of how it works. Premier League announced early in April clubs had voted that the change will use SAOT, S-A-O-T. It used the FA Cup at Premier League grounds and at Wembley. It uses 10 bespoke cameras and AI technology to track all 22 players via 29 data points on their bodies, so it knows their exact positions at all times.
Cool. I mean,
Right.
I'm better with that. And to Ron's point, you have a little bit more clerical type evidence there.
Oh, here you go. So right now, VAR's line is picked manually by a human.
Right.
Right. That's what Ron was saying.
This
Right.
version, it won't require VAR to choose the point for which to draw the line, only to validate. Okay, hold on. It's semi-automated.
Hold on, Blake. Can you
It
read the
won't-
rules again? Because we have to understand this. It's a little bit hard for me to understand this at my elder age here. Go on. Read the rules.
Already, here you go. So it's semi-automated. It won't require a VAR to choose the point from which to draw the line, only to validate that the kick point and offside line are accurate. So you still got a human who's got to validate those are accurate. The process, which works at 50 frames per second, should be much quicker than the current one and could prevent outrage like the offsides call with Coventry. So
Listen, I was told we wouldn't have to do math and geometry on this pod, so I don't know what you're talking about.
that's just the clearest, like, sort of explanation.
Sure. Yeah, no, yeah.
And a quick bit on it. And I mean, I don't remember. The World Cup was fine, but then remember when they first introduced VAR, whatever World Cup it was, we're all like,
and it was like,
this
it's
is awesome.
great. This thing's great. Yeah.
Yeah, bring it all over. But, and we talked about this a few pods ago, where we discovered that it's the clubs go to the VAR so much less in like Spain, right? Wasn't it? Like they only went for big things. Whereas like England, it's a constant. So
right, yeah. It's because it led to a goal, which is why they went to it, you know. Yeah. But you know, you got to give Coventry City here just absolute so much credit. I mean, to fight back, yeah, you had a highly deflected goal, a questionable pen, but that second half coming out, what their manager did to change from a back five to a back four, you could see the comfort level of the players, how they attacked, how they really owned the game in the second half there, and for a majority of the extra time, they owned the game. You know, if they got through and won, absolutely would have been one of the most historical games, you know, ever in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
And they should have gotten something from this. And they did in a way, but they just couldn't quite get over that line once it got to pens. And as soon as it gets to pens, it's anybody's game at that point.
But they're sitting in 8th at 31 points behind first place.
In the championship,
In the championship, yeah. That's wild.
Hey, listen, United are sitting like 8th in the Premier League. Come on.
Yeah,
we're about even table in both our respective leagues. Hang on.
I feel like at the half, they just said, you know what? We're kind of getting smoked. Let's just play our style of ball.
That's exactly
and
what
let's
they did,
have a lot of fun.
Yep, that's exactly what they did.
How many times do we get to do this? Let's just do it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And if you're gonna go down playing your style, having as much fun, and leave it all out on the field. And that's what they did.
And the American tore United apart.
Yeah.
Haji Wright, 2 pens, converted both of them, by the way, but it was in that offside that we were just talking about there, and was just a menace to the back line there of United. It's color me surprised after our game. We had a game that morning. We ended up drawing 1-1 and then went down to the German joint after. So I got that game on. I got Dortmund and Leverkusen, Villa and whoever, and then Fulham and Liverpool. I'm watching all these games, and guys are here, and I'm there with a guy that's from England who's a Chelsea fan. And, you know, everybody on my team is rooting for Coventry, right? Everybody's rooting against United. You know, I'm fine with that.
You got to go for the
been
underdog.
there before. I've been there before, but you know what not. And we're just going back and forth, and you know, talking all these things, and it's you see, you know, as a maybe not a fan of United, but just as a neutral watching the game, you want Coventry to win, and you want them to tear down the giant, you know, that is this team that they were playing on the day. But I sat there. I don't want to say non-committal. Like, oh, well, United's up 3-0. Car, I'm just going to order another beer and I'm not going to pay attention to the game. I'm like, no, they're going to lose this, because that's been United's season, at least for the past month, where they've dropped points. And who cares if it's Coventry? It could have been, you know, the famous St. Mary's School of the Blind and Deaf. I wouldn't have cared, because I know that that's what United do. For some reason, that's in their DNA right now, that they blow these leads. And yes, it was a bit, you know, wicked deflection off the back and a cool questionable pen to get back in the game. But that was all Coventry. This is the second half of that game, because of what you had just said, Ron, how they're just going to play their game. United were just pinned back for it. the entire second half of that game. And that's how they got back into it. But Pens,
Instant classic.
The ultimate equalizer.
And, Coventry's going to be talking about this match for a very long time. Because just because they lost doesn't mean they played poorly or...
Hey, look, you know what? They're going to get their revenge in 2 years when they have to face Man United in the championship.
I think you mean City, because we're not going to get deducted points yet. Although we'll probably get deducted points before they will at this rate. So that's very plausible.
Fair enough for something you haven't committed yet.
Correct.
It would happen like a year or two from now.
You know what? Listen, we don't like Ten Hag a whole lot. So what we're going to do, we don't really like that bloke that ran the marathon and then went to the match after the marathon, that really old geezer at the bottom. I get it. He used to drink here in the pub with us, but now he owns 26% of Manchester United. I don't really like him. So you know what? Let's just give them I don't know. Well, they're already so let's do... All right, so they're already a negative goal difference. All right, so let's just take away 15, 13. Oh, get 25 more points from them. And let's put them down in the championship. They can play against Grimsby Town and Shrewsbury. Love that.
Think of how many pies they'll sell in Shrewsbury when Man United comes to town.
I don't even know if they're in the championship. I don't think they are, but...
No, but it was a good guy like the name. That's a good call.
Thank you. United, we have another derby in the final. Yay, here we go.
So, also, right, I think Ten Hag fired Monday morning if that match had ended with a loss. As it stands, though, I am convinced he is done.
He's done it all season, though. He just survived, right?
But not after this. After this.
No, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. I listen, I don't know what the decision of what the new ownership and the Reigns are going to do. I'm split, if you will. They could have already made a decision that he's going to go. It doesn't seem that way quite yet. It seems like they are going to wait till the end of the season and then make a conscious decision on how they want to move forward, which you can't blame them at this point just on results, how Ten Hag has handled himself in some press conferences, how these games have played out, some of the things, yada, yada, yada. Plus, it's new ownership. They just may want to bring in their people.
Here's what's going to happen. Thomas Tuchel is going to be terrible in the Bundesliga, but to win the Champions League, and then he's going to go get hired to work at Man United.
Thomas Tuchel, who is leaving Bundesliga, might win the Champions League,
right,
and still be out of the club.
Yeah.
All right, Ferris. I have what I think is a rare opportunity for you specifically.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
I don't do this very often, so
go ahead.
Oh no,
a bet beer.
Oh, Jesus.
If your manager gets fired first, you lose. If my manager gets fired first, I lose.
No way, because
that's a pretty fair bet.
No, it's not, because Chelsea can't sack him because they can't afford to sack him, or else they go into financial fair play. United's not necessarily in that same boat, so that alone plays into it.
Gosh, that is a factor I forgot about when I said that.
Yeah, it's just plus I like Poch there. I would love if both got sacked and Poch came to United, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But no, I can't do that. Sorry.
You're just afraid you're going to drink beer.
So listen, I've done it before. I'm not afraid of it at this point, but I just don't want to. It's pure preference, my friend.
Oh man, twice Ron has thrown out a bet and Ferris has dropped it.
I've become wise in my older age.
Gotta get that spark back in you, man. All right, well, we can get a spark under this. Let's hit our 22 minute drill. That wouldn't work. Let's hit our 2 minute drill, and we're gonna go the rest of match week 33. Maybe we'll make some of these 1 minute. Try to burn through these because we got to get to Ron's rant.
Mm-hmm.
Brentford, the Dream Crushers, as they hammer Luton Town at Kenilworth Road by a scoreline of 5-1. So much for hoping out from a bottom three, Luton.
Yeah, look, Luton's at 25 points in the 18th. Nottingham's in 17th to 26th. I wouldn't count Luton out yet because Nottingham apparently. The refs all hate them. We'll get to that later. So they might.
I surprisingly wouldn't even count out Burnley yet.
Oh, Ferris. My goodness.
They're listen, they win their next and Forest lose their next. They're tied on points again.
Yeah.
Here's the real question.
With a much worse goal difference.
Yes, but they're at least tied on points, and now it goes to game for game.
Does Brentford, is that the new future home of the star of Chelsea Loney Mudryk next year?
No, he'll go to
They're
someone
smart
like
to take him.
Everton.
Oh, gosh. Everton do love them a neck tattoo or two. Yes, they do.
You're welcome. I'm glad you picked that up.
Just hit the button right now. Oh, speaking of the old Burnley, they ensure Sheffield United will absolutely remain at the bottom of the table, and them second bottom of the table. It's a goal fest, and where has this been all season for Burnley? But a 4-1 win for Burnley over Sheffield United. And as I said, puts them on 23 points, only 3 points from safety right now.
Well, just a net 32 goal differential.
That's okay.
My response to this, and I think this pretty much sums up the whole thing, is every squirrel finds a nut.
Yeah. I want to be a little bit more kinder to J.J. Watt's Burnley just because he could probably, pound my head with, a single hand. But Burnley haven't looked terrible. Check this out. They've drawn 3 and won 1 in their past 4 games. So it's not like it's completely found a nut out of. It's like they found the tree. They were all over the tree.
They climbed it.
They climbed it. They were there. They were all in the branches, just causing the branches to rattle right over your house of your roof, causing them to fall on the roof and annoying you at all hours of the day. But they found the nut this time, just like the same way they found it right before good old St. Patrick's Day on the 16th. So. They haven't been terrible is where I'm trying to get at in the past month or so.
I would completely disagree with you. They are still in 19th on a negative 32 goal differential.
And yet they could be safe.
Woo! Congratulations. Hey, you made it to 17th.
They could.
Stretching some math there. Goals at the end of each half proved to be more than enough to return Arsenal to the top of the table. Happy with the response here after the worst week of the season?
That's more of a question for you.
I mean, yeah, you got to see how you bounce back. You'd like to bounce back harder, but
I think today was hard enough. If you're,
so we'll get to that in a bit. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, this question needs to be without today's match. You know
correct.
What I mean?
Yeah.
In retrospect, I guess this was a good step.
FYI, you didn't say who they played.
Does it matter?
I mean,
is it not on the? Oh,
who the hell did they play? Wolves. Wolves.
Right,
that's who they played.
Wolves,
yeah, I didn't say it.
Right. No. Yeah. You want to? I mean, it's kind of weird going into the match. Like the Wolves aren't good. 3 weeks ago, I'm like Arsenal's going to slaughter these guys, but they've had a rough run. So, as you said, yeah, more than enough. They get their 3 points. Top. Yeah, there you go. That's good. I think I was more kind of nervy about this game because just off of everything else that had happened. So I'll take it.
One small step for Arteta, one giant step for Ben White.
With a fabulous tan. Everton 2.
It'll come up here in just a little bit. Don't you wait. Or don't you worry.
Everton 2, Nottingham 0. But all the news after this one was Nottingham Forest's statement on the lack of or the missed calls of the game and arguing that the ref is a Luton Town fan, so should not have been calling this match.
What was the statement there, Ron?
You want me to read it real quick? I think I got it handy.
Oh, yeah, sure, if you do.
I pulled it up. They put this on X, Twitter, Stitter. What do you call it? I don't know.
The only place to release news nowadays. 3
extremely poor decisions, Nottingham Forest says. 3 penalties not given, which we simply cannot accept. We warned the PGMOL that the The VAR
Sorry.
is
Better shut that down real quick.
we warned that Pigmal that the VAR is a Luton fan before the game, but they didn't change him. Our patience has been tested multiple times. NFFC will now consider its options. That is we've had some people say some things. That's the strongest.
Listen,
We've had clubs defend managers who said this was crap.
sure.
And we stand with our manager. This is the club saying,
And they're going to file a formal complaint with the
Yeah.
PPGMLO. Yes, I agree. Listen, bad calls here. I can understand it. I get it. They've had a lot of them. So has a lot of other teams in the league, right? Even a handball in this that was very similar to one that was called in the FA Cup semifinal before that, So I can understand it. However, as Nottingham Forest, somebody at that club of some sort of level have to have a little bit calmer head and go, we can't put that out.
Right.
We can't put that. Come on. That we might be talking and saying that the Luton fan, I don't remember who the VAR, it's a name that everybody would know necessarily if you watch, but you can't put that out. Just say we're going to file a formal complaint.
Yeah.
And just leave it there. But the minute you start accusing refs of bias and favoritism towards clubs, that's when it's not going to be handled, not going to be received in the public and received by the PGMLO very kindly, because now you're attacking. You're not just going, hey, we're going to do this. And this is how we're going to do it in a professional way.
Yeah, I think also that Nottingham's kind of, they're mad at the Premier League. They're mad at, for the points deduction and all that kind of stuff. They all kind of have a bit of a bloody nose from all of that. And so I'm sure they're feeling very picked on and all that. The thing that I find is interesting is Arteta. I'm using him as an example, I'm not attacking him, right? Arteta worked for Pep at Man City, but was always an Arsenal fan. Whenever they played Arsenal and Man City scored on Arsenal, he never celebrated.
Yeah, he did like the former player at another club thing where
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But no one from Man City was like, Arteta's a Arsenal fan, how terrible. I don't think it's fair to blame people for the places the clubs they like or anything like that, as long as they are not intentionally using their influence to negatively impact someone else. And I don't really see that the ref was actually doing it.
Well, it's not it's the VAR. What they're saying is these calls were missed, and that's where VAR should step in, and they weren't overturned by VAR. But that's such a subjective thing that you can't really show or prove that, because VAR has made all sorts of weird decisions, non-decisions, have decided to back the call on the field and not really intervene, has decided to intervene and not back. Sorry. The Bolts just lost in overtime in game 2 of Stanley Cup. I'm sorry. Closing the iPad now. But it's VAR is a mess. We know that it's a mess. So file that formal complaint, and maybe you get an apology. Who the hell knows? But to come out and start accusing of that, it's as an institution, as a club, in a league, you have to be smarter and kind of keep a little bit calmer head with that. Somebody has to go, we can't send that out. Knock out that third sentence there. You can even say they're extremely poor decisions, 3 penalties not given, which we not completely understand.
If you're going to say the thing,
our patience has been tested multiple times. NFC will now consider its options. Boom, done. Right?
If you're going to say the thing about him being a fan, then you better be saying we filed a complaint because of these social media posts or something, and show them that this dude put out.
What was it? The Orlando City Inter Miami game, that ref was pulled because images surfaced of him wearing a Inter Miami Lino Messi kit.
Right.
And you know why you pull him?
That's justification to pull the ref from it, right? You're at least coming with some sort of factor statement, but you have nothing besides what? He's from Luton. He's
I don't even know.
Who the hell knows?
It just said he was a fan, so I don't. Yeah, I who knows? Maybe they do have something like that. But to your point, then I would either. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
you either have to go the whole way or don't go at all.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, right.
Or don't come to the table with some evidence, because right now you go.
That's what
into
I mean
court,
by go the whole way.
Right. Exactly. Right? That's the judge is gonna be like, that's hearsay.
Yeah.
You know, what tangible evidence do you actually have here?
Sorry, we went well over.
Oh yeah. Real quick, short and sweet. Following their win over Arsenal, Aston Villa win 3-1 over Bournemouth. They are 4 points above Spurs? Tottenham in 5th now. Tottenham are 2 games behind, so still have 2 games in hand. But do you think Villa's going to make the top 4 now? It's seeming more and more as the weeks advance that they really are going to make the top 4.
Yeah, I think so.
Still money on them. Yeah. I mean, obviously Tottenham could still mount they could slip and Tottenham could mount a steady response, but I mean, it feels like that's what's going to happen.
I mean, Villa plays Chelsea this Sunday. So that's another 3 points.
Chelsea 5-0. It's going to be one of those weird games where you're like, wait, they just got smoke showed by Arsenal.
Yeah, and they'll beat Villa.
Villa just beat Arsenal. But, it's just going to be one of those completely back-asswards games where you're like, what the hell?
Right. Are so right. Villa beat Chelsea is going to win this match. That is
absolutely
hilarious.
3 own goals. It's like what went.
Yeah, and a wicked deflection for a 4th.
Yeah.
Oh, Crystal effing Palace dropping a 5 note on their London rivals as they whoop West Ham 5-2. Are the Palace safe now? Yeah.
They're even on 36 points. There's
definitely 3 worse teams.
Yeah, and plus, they haven't had a point deduction yet.
I was going to say,
baby.
Yeah, they're not waiting on an appeal. They're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, this year, instead of the magic 40 points, it's just the magic no deduction. That's
exactly.
It took Liverpool a little to get going, but in the second half, they pull away from Fulham 3-1 on the day, with players coming back from injury like Trent Alexander-Arnold and a beautiful free kick. Will Liverpool surge here to win the title for Klopp?
I just think it goes to the end, man. I don't know.
Yes. Could they? Yes. Will they? Undetermined right now, because you still have 2 other factors, one of which being a team that kind of just steamrolls at this time of year and just tends to win everything and get points when other teams drop points. So they absolutely could. Games like this will help. And will that ball keep going? They're not out of Europa League, so it's the only thing they got going now. So they could.
And do they not? Are they still in Europa? Why did I think they had been knocked out?
No, they got knocked by Atalanta.
Yeah.
Atalanta put a 3-0 on the home leg, and then
that's right.
Only put up 1-0 on their home leg. So
English bloodbath in Europe, right?
And don't forget, Man City have 2 games in hand on current league leaders Arsenal. So a lot can happen.
And finally, just today, my Havertz-loving Trossard and Benjamin White's Arsenal 5-goal smacked the Palmerless, but not Jacksonless, Chelsea's Ron Blues. Before I let Ron go to the half, or go to his rant for this, my only comment is, because I almost said it earlier, but I saved it for this when we were talking about the prior match. Mudryk, what did he cost? Was it 95?
I thought it was less than that. Hold on.
But 94.5, Blake.
Yeah. 94.5. So we'll go with that. I just would like to point out that in the 5th minute, the first goal was scored by the £27 million transfer, Leandro Trossard, who was the second choice when they could not get Mudryk because Chelsea stepped in. That's all I really kind of wanted to say about that. And I'll turn this smoke show over to Ron. Skin that smoke wagon.
So I'm just gonna
crack a beer here before you.
I know.
Sorry. I'm gonna
Smoke a cigarette.
Woo, Nelly, here we go. Do you need somebody else to take the bleep sheet for a little bit? Like, what you got going?
No, I'm. You know when you are too angry to be emotional, or you're too mad, so you're just calm.
Yeah,
that's where I am.
I've been there.
I'm not going to jump up and down and scream and yell, but I will say there are a number of players that need to get gone. But at the top of the list, here we go, Nicholas Jackson. Nicky Jackson. Now, before I just continue to just slam him, he has had some good games this season. And he shows flashes about being a really good player. He works hard, so do dishwashers.
So do washing machines.
He runs behind to stretch the defenses. Anybody can do that. It is the bare minimum of your job.
You serious, Clark?
He puts pressure on the defenders. He's got pace to run down the flank, as we saw against Arsenal, today against Arsenal, as we saw against City, as we saw against everybody. But that man could not find the back of the net with Google Maps, Siri, his own cartographer. Ferdinand Magellan could be standing on the field with him, and he would still not understand where the back of the net is.
He should have easily had one today. I mean,
and possibly a red card.
Yes.
Well,
he's lucky he didn't get sent off.
Yeah.
Or at least a yellow, which would suspend him for the next game.
Sure.
Gentlemen, take a guess how many, an average of offsides he has for his appearances in Chelsea, all competitions. What is his average per game offside call?
2.5.
I'm going to go with 3.
Sorry, Ferris, what'd you say?
2.5.
4.
Ooh, Nelly.
4.
Yeah, that's not
4.
Good.
4 offsides average a game.
Now,
Arsenal scored 4 in the second half.
That is the most of any Premier League player for the past 15 years.
Boy, record breaker, baby.
I know it's a Jackson rant, but is that all him, or is the communication with the front line like?
Look, it does not matter.
According to Didier Drogba.
Now here's why. Here's why. If you average half an offsides call every game, you could probably say there's communication problems. You could probably say I was expecting the ball sooner than it was delivered. You could say that it's not 100% one way or another. But 4 offsides average on the season does not point to your teammates delivering the ball late, not picking up their heads. I have watched games where he's in an offsides position pointing to where he wants the ball, and then he gets mad when people don't point it, send it to him. He doesn't have a clue. It's absolutely insane. That's 60% more offsides call
60% of the time
than the nearest Premier League player. That's ridiculous.
You should be more like Didier Drogba and have faith in him. Now, mind you, this ex post by Didier Drogba was yesterday, so prior to this game, so he might have had a different post after this particular game. He said, "Keep your head high up and never stop working hard. It will pay off." Praying hands.
So
and posted two pictures of Nicky Jackson. One with the lovely blue and white hair on half of his head.
Here's the thing that kind of, I understand that he's 22 years old. He's got plenty of time to iron all this out. But why is he on the first team? Chelsea is, even though we're a project, this is not the team or not the squad for you to be a League One style striker in the Premier League.
If this was Chelsea's a pass, he'd be on a loan. But this is the one position you haven't signed 15 people in. You've signed one. He's been hurt all season.
I mean,
so like he kind of has to play.
I mean, you have
Njoku's the only other one that could play that position right now for you guys.
Well, we have played so many other players out of position to make up for injury or lack of skill. Why are we suddenly scared that we can't play anybody in a role that Jackson is? He doesn't do that much.
Yeah, I mean, like I've seen other clubs get players that you have to futz it around and make them play.
We do it with defense and midfield and wingers every game. What's the difference?
Say, though, he finds himself in the good spaces. Like he knows where his strikers should be.
Who cares? He's not doing anything with it.
You see,
what difference does it make? I have a Ferrari, but I never take it out of the garage. Who cares?
That shit looked good on Instagram, though. That's all he cares about.
All right, so that's the end of my Jackson.
It was scary when Ron got so quiet and you realized.
Yeah. So, gentlemen, a little bit of fast beer news. The Brewers Association has released its annual craft brewing industry production report for 2023. It takes them about 4 months to compile all the data. So here's the good news. Jobs. Lots of jobs created in the brewing industry. On-premises sales. So like think beer sold in bars, tap rooms, restaurants. And the number of operating craft breweries all continue to grow. The number of operating craft breweries continued to climb and is at an all-time high. Gentlemen, guess how many operating craft breweries as of 12/31/23?
In the United States.
Correct. This is just breweries.
Wait,
not brew pubs, not taproom breweries, not microbreweries.
Wait. So
just craft breweries. How many operating?
There's so many. When we did that, like how many in one state, like California? I mean, 8,000.
28,400.
Fair, shooting for the moon. 9,638, which is up 11% over the previous year. There are 2,071 microbreweries, 3,467 brew pubs, 3,900 taproom breweries, and 245 regional craft breweries. That's pretty great.
I mean, I can't kick a rock but not hit a brewery down here. So I'm kidding.
So here's the bad news. Mirroring the U.S. decline in an overall economic sector, craft brewery production has slowed in the end of 2023, a decline of 1% from 2022, a volume shrinkage. Hate it when that happens. 13.3%. The overall beer market, which includes small and independent brewers as well as big breweries like Anheuser-Busch, Molson Coors, shrank by 5.1% by volume. So we're going to hit a great equalizer here pretty soon is really what this is saying.
Well, it sounds
Right.
like to me, yeah.
So we have all these breweries opening up. We're going to start seeing breweries starting to fold up. And on that note, Cigar City Brewing, owned by Monster Energy Drink, owned by a Canadian company. Oh, no, sorry, swap.
Aren't
that.
they owned by InBev? Isn't Monster owned by InBev? Or
Canada,
Coca-Cola?
Canada
No, who are they
Dry,
owned by?
something like that.
Okay.
Anyway, Cigar City, they are closed the tap room in Tampa, closed the brewery in Tampa, laid off 34 people.
Really?
And allegedly they're going to be contract brewing, and their future is kind of up in the air.
So they closed the brewery, but not the tap room?
Correct.
Huh.
So
But
they're contract brewing their normal run beers at the moment, or at least that's where they say they're headed. And then that was at a press release from 2 weeks ago. So we'll see what the future of that brewery is going to be. But if you search for beer news on Google, probably 1 in 3 of your headlines are breweries folding up, closing,
Now,
all over the place.
to see, I've got to, I got to dig into it, do my own one of these news bits here and kind of figure out what the deal is with the breweries in Connecticut, because Connecticut's weird to me. If you're not familiar with me, obviously the state is small, but like what I'm not used to coming from the Southeast predominantly is like I feel like you drive every 6 miles, you're in a new town, right? And it's a town with, its own school district, its own individual little towns. And there's like breweries in all of them. And the one I went over the weekend was not packed. And I thought to myself, it's a Saturday. Yeah, it's like 2 or 3, but Crooked Can at this time would be really full. The weather was nice, and there was people sitting outside. And for sure, when we were leaving around 5 o'clock, more people were starting to come in. But I was like, how are they doing this? Now, I do see their beers. Every liquor store, bottle shop in town, though, I will say, and I've got just like 3 near me. Everyone I've been into, awesome local craft beer selection. So I don't know if there is a better, and again, this is me anecdotally, in this area, if there's just a better support system for selling the beers outside of just the breweries and the tap rooms, and they're actually getting them out to all these places. Every grocery store has a good selection of local craft beers, and they all promote it very heavily, like, craft, Connecticut craft beers. Then they'll have their own, then a New England section for the rest of New England. So I wonder what the difference is.
I think if you, we've talked about it a few times on this pod, and I know, Ron, you and I have, just from the breweries in this area and some of the ones that have started to close down and that sort of thing. It's dead words last week and that sort of thing. I think a couple factors happen into this. If you have consistent backing in terms of your finance people that are investment in a brewery, if you have that consistent investment that they, hey, listen, we're there, no matter what, yada, yada, yada. That's one way to continue to stay through this. A lot of breweries now also try to outreach themselves, try to outgrow themselves. Persimmon Hollow is one of those in the area that they opened up. They are based out of Bradenton area, I think, or somewhere there, just outside of the Tampa Bay area. And they opened up not 1, but 2 tap rooms here in Orlando. They opened up their first in Lake Eola, which is still there. It's an awesome joint, and it does fairly well from a dang intent. They opened up one over by the Jimmy Buffett Disney type area out there. That was open for maybe a year and a half. This glorious big space closed, done.
Well,
so
rent been ridiculous there.
Rent, and yes, and that kind of takes me to my third location. Rent, that sort of thing will kind of play into it. I want to see these. Speaking of, I think you just said Crooked Can. They're opening up a whole big area out in Claremont. How's that going to work for them? Are they going to realize, well, we may research stuff? Now, you can find Crooked Can in pretty much every Publix here, every store, most taps in this area, regardless of the bar that you're in, have some sort of Crooked Can on. who knows? They may be so well financed that it doesn't matter, but your Boegans, your Tacticals, your those types, how well are they financed? Or is it a conglomerate? Us three just happen to have the funds and means to be able to do it. Now we're turning this into a slight business. We're not worried about how much we make, and then we just continue doing it because we love to do it. There's so many factors that go into this, right?
You got to make something really good, too. And I know that's a John Madden kind of comment, but like, I mean, the good news is you can go to most craft breweries and be like, this ain't bad. I mean, like, it's very rare we come across butternut is our top. I won't hold the Cookie Puss beer accountable because on one hand, it succeeds in that it tastes exactly like a Cookie Puss. I don't know if that should be a beer flavor. But like the butternuts those were frustrating. But you can find a pretty good beer, but like at that Evening Star I went to, they have an Irish red they do that is great that you can find on cans. And I forget the other one they do. But at the brewery, they had 3 that I don't normally see there. They had a Pilsner, one of the better like American craft Pilsner. And you know what's important? A lot of regular blokes in that pub who maybe aren't going to be like IPA people just slinging that Pilsner, and I think not being afraid to like lean into what people want a little bit. I don't know, man. I'm sure smarter people than us have jumped into this. I'd love to get a scope of like what's happening on that sort of mid-sized craft brewery, which I guess is where I would kind of put Cigar City at. Macro craft would be like Sierra Nevada, right? But then like,
they're just below that.
Yeah.
I would also add one more thing to kind of what Ferris was touching on, right? He kind of listed his 3 things. Another one that most people look past are the liquor laws and distribution laws of the area. Some states and counties are much more friendly to distribution rights and things like that than other locations. And therefore the taxes and the incentives are different, right? Florida is a very relaxed state when it comes to distribution rights.
Hey,
right?
Ron, I got one for you. You just said that. I looked it up real fast. Connecticut, Governor Lamont just signed legislation that makes significant changes to the state's liquor laws, streamlining the Liquor Control Act, making it easier for craft beer, wine, and cider businesses to sell products directly to consumers. So
there you go.
Right.
That might be a huge difference right there,
So regardless, we're at the end of the brewery bubble, right? We're going to start seeing many more of these close up because the market is saturated, and we've known this was coming for quite some time. So this isn't really a surprise. So we'll just keep an eye, and we'll announce them as we can, and go get your favorite beers before they close up.
Well, you definitely sent me down a rabbit hole I have to look in. I mean, just quickly looking over this law, there's one that's like there are 4 different manufacturing permits for beer. Well, they've consolidated into one. Stuff like that. Right. If you never tried to do your own business, that's a huge to go from 4 to 1 on permits alone. Like,
well, I mean, look at what Tennessee was trying to do.
Exactly.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
And they passed this law, and they tag a whole bunch of stuff onto an anti-drunk driving bill, and they nearly hamstring the industry in their state.
But had it not been for you, Ron Keller, and that speech.
And on that note, gentlemen, we're back.
That was a good combo, though.
Heck yeah.
I like it. Ferris, you gonna give us our La Liga's roundup?
Sure am, man. We'll try to fly through this here and get done within the next 10 minutes. Running a little bit over, but on Sunday, the biggest club football game match played, El Clasico. I always love watching this. Once again, kicked off this time for the second time this season in the league, and boy, did it not disappoint. 5 goals, a penalty in there, a goal line, no goal line, VAR decision thing happened. It was very, very weird to watch live and realize La Liga doesn't have goal line technology. Even some of the players didn't know that because they're calling for the ref to look at his watch. Well, guess what? Watch this is going to tell the time for him because it ain't going to tell him whether the ball crossed the line because there's no goal line.
Yep.
So it was a very weird thing. And I didn't even know that La Liga did not have goal line. Anyways, and then once again, you get a Jude Bellingham. What a season he's having in La Liga. Real Madrid, one of the biggest clubs in the world, if not the biggest club in the world, once again scored the match-winning goal. Very close to extra time, if not just inside of extra time. Just after. So 91st minute. He netted that to make it 3-2 on the day to Real Madrid. And gents, they're now 11 points clear with 6 matches left. It's pretty much Real Madrid's going to win the title, right?
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think, they've kind of just steamrolled through this. Girona, if you remember, we're at top of the table there for a bit. They've kind of faded away here. As of late, just dropping a match here or there. I know Barcelona might feel aggrieved in this. They took the lead each time. They were up 1-0. They were up 2-1. They're not going to replay the game, which is kind of they're calling for. They're not going to do those type of things. Goal line, similar to Ron's, argument of financial fair play. The clubs wanted to pay for it, or the league wanted to pay for it. It's only like $5 million. I think the person that runs the league is getting paid like $10 million. I mean, or somewhere in that range, right? He's getting paid more than what it costs for goal line to be implemented. You just vote that in. You do whatever you got to do in the league to get the goal line in. I think should be the bare minimum,
right,
in most big leagues now, right? VAR, we can all go back and forth. Maybe VAR is questionable. And from VAR, in fairness to this particular decision, if you didn't see it, it's a corner kick off Milamar. And the goalie is in a really weird position on a corner, kind of like cups it to push it out. But he's like right on the goal line. Like his body's in the goal. But the ball and his arms are on the goal line. At the time, it's not called a goal. And in fairness, you can't really tell if it crosses the line or not. Because no matter what camera angle you look at, either he's blocking it, a player in front, a goalpost, the net, you really can't tell. So I don't blame the decision of there's no indisputable evidence to overturn that the ball, the whole of the ball, that is,
right,
crossed the goal line. But that's where goal line technology is. That's it.
Yeah. And it's been flawless.
Yeah.
Right. The whole Hawkeye thing has been flawless. Just pay the money and do it. It's not going to get cheaper. Right.
No, yeah. Right. And just going back a second, these goals, first goal scored by the Vicinius Jr., 13 goals this year. Just a lovely player. He's been, if you haven't followed along, he's been the subject to these just horrific abuse from fans when he goes away to games, to just these racist chants. And that's something that Liga has to cut out. A few weeks back, he had a very, he was with the Brazil national team at a very emotional kind of talk about that. And you just don't want to see that in the game. It's terrible. Sorry. Excuse my language there. But Jude Bellingham, 17 goals, leads the league. Leads the team as top goal scorer. Might even lead the league. I have to double check that. But 17 goals, nets the game winner early on in, I think, September, October, somewhere in that range in the first El Clasico, and nets it again here. He's a midfielder, folks. He's not a striker. He's not a winger. He's a midfielder, a center attacker, maybe, but he's classified as like an out and out, just center mid. The impact, how young he is, 20 years old.
Yeah.
Just went to Real Madrid from Dortmund in the summer, already leading the team in goals. Just what a player he's going to be. Looking forward to seeing him play for England in the Euros. But Real Madrid more than likely going to be your winner in Spain. But we do have winners in both Germany and Italy. First, Germany. If you didn't see it, if you didn't see the scenes 2 weeks back when Bayern Leverkusen won the title, go, whatever you got to do, YouTube that match, go back, watch the replay of it. Yes, they still have not lost a single game this season. They beat Werder Bremen that day at home 5-0. And you watch those scenes, man, that's what it's about. That you can't not watch that and just get absolutely stoked. It is a Leicester-ish kind of ish way, just because it's Bayern Leverkusen's first ever Bundesliga title, but the scenes there, they were invading the pitch in like the 80th and the 82nd because the goals are going in. It's confirmed. It's at home too. Like, how cool is that they get to win the title 7 games out or whatever it is at home in front of their fans. And just Xabi Alonso, the squad that they have, from Granit Xhaka, who has been killer there, Florian Wirtz, Eintracht, Patrick Schick, Telles, Andy. I mean, you can just go down the roster. They're playing as a team. They're playing well. I thought Dortmund were going to end their unbeaten streak this year until yet another very, very late goal from them. They've done it a bunch this season, but that Xabi Alonso side just doesn't know how to quit. They don't quit. They keep going. And to see these scenes for them winning the title, go watch them if you haven't, because it's absolutely just magical in what the game's all about.
You know what this proves?
What?
I think I know where you're going with this, but go ahead.
Harry Kane is cursed.
Bayern
Munich have won the Bundesliga title 11 years in a row.
That's harsh, though.
He joins now. Bayern Munich, and they lose the title.
For his sake, I hope Bayern Munich win the Champions League. He's going to win something there at Bayern. We know that. He's going to win something at some point.
Do we?
I would do a bet beer on that now that he wins something in his career at Bayern.
You think in a final, Bayern could beat Real Madrid?
Sure, absolutely. I can think that.
I don't.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's a single game. Anything can happen. Absolutely. Listen, it's harsh because
it's not harsh.
You don't get teams to go undefeated in the league. It happened once in England. Yeah, it doesn't happen, especially a team that was not even picked to be in the title contention, and they're blowing away the league. So you can't really predict that, and it's not Harry Kane's fault.
That's why it's the Harry Kane curse. You can't predict the weird stuff that happens. Just saying. Look at Chelsea. We've got Pochettino, right? You touch the Spurs, you're cursed.
You brought the curse to you. I mean, that's your own
why when Ferris is like, I wish Poch would come to Man United. I said, from your lips to God's ears. I mean, Yep. And let's just bring Mourinho right back to Chelsea. Let's do this all. Let's do it, man. Come on.
We got to move on, but I thought that was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, we do. Over in Italy, it is Inter Milan winning their 20th Scudetto, courtesy of just yesterday 2-1 win over the Derby rivals AC Milan. Very weird day for the Milan Derby to be played. Usually it's played on Sundays. No clue why they did it on Monday. Nonetheless, they won 2-1. This game was just crazy. Inter pretty much sealed it in the 49th with a Thuram goal. There was a late Tomori goal to make it 2-1, and then you get into extra time. There's all sorts of just 3 reds were tossed out, 2 to AC Milan players, 1 to, there was just a whole bunch of stuff. But nonetheless, Inter Milan have just blown away the competition in the league this season. They win the league after the 33rd match week of 38. They win the league almost 20 points clear. They win it 17 points clear at the top at the current moment. AC Milan are in second behind them, Juventus, and then Bologna in fourth. It'd be interesting to see if Bologna stay there, especially over Roma and Atalanta. But right now, we said this on the last pod, and we're going to have to correct ourselves. It is not guaranteed that England will have that 5th coefficient. In fact, right now, they absolutely do not. They are 3rd in the pecking order when it comes to Germany and Serie A, and who's going to get that 5th Champions League spot this year. Germany doing so well in the competitions in Europe, as well as Serie A doing much better than both, or better than what England's doing. So right now it's kind of a race for Bundesliga and Serie A to get that 5th place Champions League. And Inter Milan, well done. And finally, the moment we've all been waiting for. The lumbersexual Olivier Giroud is coming to America, just like Eddie Murphy. Semi-following in the footsteps of the great Zlatan Ibrahimovic and going to LA. Fabrizio Romano spoke the news today. If you don't follow him on Twitter, just follow him for the pure fact that he's like the Adam Scheffner of soccer out there. He just, the news, the deals. If he says it, it's pretty much golden done. But anyways, he broke the news today. This summer, AC Milan striker Olivier Giroud would join up with his French national teammate and Hugo Lloris with the Western Conference favorite of LAFC. They verbal agreement back in March and a contract until December of 2025. You ask why December? Well, the MLS season ends around that time. Giroud will leave AC Milan this summer as a free agent, joining up with the black and gold of LA this summer in Hollywood. Guess what, gents? I sent it out in a text today.
Yeah, he's coming to Orlando.
Orlando City play them mid-June. It might be too early for him, but I will, whatever aftershave and hairspray he uses, I'll go out, I'll buy it, and I will be storming the pitch for him to sign it.
It's awesome.
I expect no less.
He, and he's starting to get like the frosted tips there now too. Oh,
It's
the natural. Say what?
When he gets to LA, what happens? When every male actor in Hollywood suddenly looks a little uglier.
Like he's like the George Clooney of football.
You're not wrong.
And on that note, the La Liga's roundup.
Boom. All right, beers of the pod this episode. I had the Two Roads Road to Ruin Double IPA.
I had the Imperial IPA, Hot Bullet Magnum, and I didn't say this earlier, so I'll say it right now. Malts, Crystal Oats, 2-row pale, wheat, white wheat. Also at the hops, Eureka, Hellas, Idaho 7, and of course, Magnum hops. Hot Bullet Magnum Edition, Imperial IPA from Sierra Nevada.
New Realm Brewing Company, based in Atlanta, but we got this one from their Charleston, South Carolina. It is a West Coast style Pilsner with a little grapefruit and passion fruit kicker. Scapegoat Pilsner. Quite a good one.
Ferris, you got us a Zlatan quote?
I do. Oh, wait. There's a new striker in town in LA, so I have an Olivier Giroud quote.
I hope it's about his hair.
Don't know when he said it. Don't care, but he said, I don't have an inferior complex.
Awesome.
Sorry, I don't have an inferiority complex.
Perfect. Well, follow us on all the socials, plus especially Untapped. We'll put up a bunch of these beers. Please tell your friends, family, get your grandmas and your aunt, uncles listening to the pod. Give us a review. Let us know. We'll get you something fun out your way in the mail. And then last but not least, it's not a joke. It's just cool. I know Ron will appreciate it because I can't get over it. It's Earth Day this past week. It also was my birthday, which is also Earth Day. And I thought, well, let's get off the pale blue dot. Ron, 15 billion miles away. Voyager spacecraft floating interstellar doesn't work, guys. It takes 22 and a half hours to send a signal. And our brilliant scientists figure out if we tell half the other chip to work, we can cut it back on and communicate again.
Right?
And they switch how the thing works. 15 billion miles away, and a 65-year-old satellite starts working with us again. I'd like to mind you, my Apple 7 watch is starting to move a little slow.
Right. And the battery power on it's going pretty fast.
Exactly. That's no joke. That's just cool. But in honor of Earth Day, I will say, do you gentlemen know what the difference is between weather and climate? Get you a little education here. What's the difference between weather and climate? You can't weather a tree, but you can climb it. Ka-toom!
Love it.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Try the Veal. We'll be here all night. Love the beer. Cherish the game. The beautiful game.